Hello and how are you? My name is Mahino Bark and I welcome you to a 15th video of learning how to program web applications. Is it 11th, not 15th? 11th video of learning how to program web applications using PHP. If you've been following, we have covered most of things up to functions of PHP. So if you are not following, I recommend you to go and watch the previous videos on this very playlist. But if you're on the same level with us, then no problem, we can proceed. So today we're going to look at PHP arrays and what is meant by PHP super global arrays, when do we need arrays, and how we can implement PHP arrays in real life. That's what we're going to cover today. So I hope you're ready to do this with me. If you are, then let's get started. So we're going to follow W3 Schools syllabus. Of course, you can access W3 Schools by searching it from Google, and then you go to PHP section, and then you can find the PHP array section. So for the sake of notes to read and more details about what I'm teaching, you can come and use this resource to learn more about different topics that we'll be covering. So without wasting much time, let's get straight to the business. So an array is a kind of a variable that can store multiple values. If you remember, we were introduced to a single variable in previous lectures, whereby we say that variables, they can help us to store data in them, and then we reference those variables to access those particular data. But if you realized the variable that we created, they were storing only a single type of data or a single piece of data. You couldn't attach there multiple things. Let us see what the kind of variable that we are creating, and we see the problem that we can face when you're using a single dimension variable or just one variable. So to do that, I'm going to go and create my PHP file. So I'll come here in the project. By the way, I've already opened my project in Visual Studio Code. And then I'm going to create here a new file, and I'm going to call it 15 underscore PHP arrays.php. So that is a PHP array. So let me go ahead and restart my localhost or my XAMPP. It's already started. After starting it, then I'll go straight to the browser and run the file, which I can run on localhost stroke learn PHP stroke PHP arrays. Okay, so here it's where we are. So I'm going to open here a square bracket and say PHP, and then I can as well echo test. So if this test displays on the screen, then we can know that our our file is successfully been executed. Just go and refresh. You can see test has been displayed on the screen. So if you still remember, now let us look at what the kind of variable that we're working with. The kind of variable we're working with is just simply defining a variable with a $sign, then you give it a name, and then you store their data. For example, I can say a variable called name. I store there the data called Mohindo, and then the variable called maybe age. I store there maybe my age, like maybe 26. Okay, something like this. Okay, so that's how we use variables. That's how we're using variables. So after defining them, of course, you can as well go ahead and use them in two different contexts. For example, I can say my name is, and then I pass the name, and I can put I am, and then I put age. I am age years old. Okay, so by doing like this, you'll be able to get this particular variable, and then you store, and we also print this one. So if I come and refresh, you can see you're able to create and reuse the variables. But there's a problem. For example, we have so many names and want to keep them. For example, with their 10 users. So what does it mean? Does it mean that we could just create another 10 different variables? Now, what if there are 1,000 variables? Does it mean that you could need to create those 1,000 variables? No, of course, it will be so hectic. So the PHP guys came up with a way of how you can keep your variables in the same place or in the same variable. I mean, you can keep the values in the same variable, and you can use that particular variable to access the different values that you've kept with them. And that kind of data that is kept in a certain container with the same name is what we call what? A PHP array. Assume that we have names of students, okay, and we want to keep them in the same place. So to do that, we just simply say, we create an array like this by simply saying the name of the variable equals to array, and then we pass the data. For example, I can simply say maybe names, so these are so many names, equals, and then I write array, and then I pass here the initial values that I want to store in these names. For example, I can say John, and I can put here Jen, and I can put maybe Joan, and I can put there maybe Juliet. Okay, so Juliet. So after creating such an array, so it means that I've created a container of so many names, or a container that stores different data values, and all of them have stored them in what? In only one variable. Okay, so such kind of a thing is what we call what? An array. So the question is now, how can we access the data that is inside the array? You know, this data is already too much. We're having around 4 names. All of them, they are stored into one variable called name. So the question is, how can we access, for example, this second name or the first name specifically? So to access the first or second name, we can access it by use of what? Of index. Okay, so this array type is called indexed PHP array. So the index of accessing data is always beginning from 0, or it will always begin from 0 and above. So it means that if we want to collect, if we want to fetch this first variable here, we'll use 0 and the index of 0, and then this second one we'll use the index 1, and this one the index of 2, and then this one index of 3, and then it will proceed like that. So now assume that I want to display the first name. So to display the first name, I'll just simply say echo, and then I put the name, I put names, and then after putting names, I'll have to open the square bracket, this one, okay, the square bracket, and then in between those square bracket we specify a section that you do what? That we need to display, or we need to access. For example, by use of index. So it means that if we want to display this second name, Jen, it means that you have to put the corresponding index of the second name. As we said that PHP arrays, they begin from what? From 0. So it means that if I want to display Jen, I'll have to pass 1 because it's in the position 2, and then the first one is in the position, of course, 0. So it means if I want to display Jen, I can just simply put here something like this, 1, and then I save. Let's go ahead and display it. So to display it, you just simply come here and refresh. You can see Jen. So the question would be, how was I able to pick this particular data from other datas? So if you want to access the first variable, it means that you'll have to put here 0. So if you come and refresh, you'll be able to see the first variable, or the first value that is stored in the what? In the first index. So those are what we call indexed arrays. So these are very important in programming. Why? Because we are able to keep a bunch of data in one single, or in one particular variable. So you can play with them and see how much you can do with them. So these arrays that we access by use of 0, 1, 2, 3, all those numbers are the one that we call what? The one that we call indexed array, and that's how we initialize them. So we proceed to, this is how we initialize index array. So we can proceed to another type of array, the one that we call associative array. So before we proceed to associative array, another way how you can initialize this array in latest PHP 8, you can as well initialize this array by simply saying, by simply putting a square bracket like this, and then you start passing the value like the way we did on top. For example, you can say black, then put here yellow, and maybe you can put here red, and maybe you can put also green. So that is also another way of indexing, of creating what? An associative array. An indexed array. Another way, you can as well add their data in this array by just simply saying a semicolon, a square bracket here, and then you add something here, some other color. So by doing like this, you'll also be able to append something in this PHP array. So this array, I can as well check its properties by simply doing like this. Let me echo here a pre-tag, echo pre-tag. So why do I echo pre-tag? Because I want my things to be organized. And then I write print underscore r, and then I pass this particular array like this. Okay, so this one is going to give us the details about, or can write var dump like this. This is going to give us the details about this particular array. Okay, so if I come and refresh, you can see I have the information about the array. It is an array with 5 values, and these are the data that is inside that particular array. Also, one more thing, an array can contain different kind of data. It can be string, integer, double, anything that you want. So those are called indexed array. So I have another type of arrays that we call associative array. So associative array, we use them to store data with the use of with the use of names in the field. In fact, you can come here and read them. Okay, associative array, we use the named keys, okay, to assign the data. For example, I want to let us create another file for associative array. Let me first create a new file for associative array. Here, I'm going to just simply come and say here, go to Shift S, and then I rename this one as what? As 16 underscore PHP associative array dot PHP like this. So that is the 16 value here. So I can come and remove everything, and then I'm going to create an associative array. As we said, we use keys, or the named, we use the named values to store, we use the named keys to store value in that array. Assume that you want to store the age of different people, so you can as well do like this, and we just put here maybe age. Maybe you can, okay, to say the age, and then here you create here, and then you pass the named key. You can as well say, for example, name. Okay, you can say maybe name. Okay, let us say maybe someone's name. Say John, and Johnny has a name, so name can be John. And then I can say maybe student. Student has a name. Okay, we can call it John. And then we have another student, it has age, and can call it, we can equate it to 21. And then we can also rightly say address. And we can pass this one as what? As Kampala. So the beauty is the index are named, or we have named index using English words. So it means that they can help us to access this index and read about more about the array. So if I come here and I dump, okay, echo, and then I put the pre-tag, like this, and then we do what? We dump the student. So after doing that, put semicolon here. Let us go ahead and see how it's going to look like. So let's go ahead and copy this file name and come back and paste it here. You can see this is a named what? It's a named array. So it means that if we want to access values of this array, for example, you can say someone's name. Let's say this is a certain student. So you can say echo, and then you say someone's name, and then you can see it's simpler here to identify a specific value of an array by a named what? By the named index or key. Okay, so I can put here a name like this. Okay, so I can put maybe age, and put here also age, and then you put address, and then put here address. Maybe you can put here also maybe the break line, so we can see the difference. BR. Okay, like this. So if you come and refresh, you'll be able to see the name of a person with his name, and then the age, and then so that is how we create associative array. They are very helpful because they help us to know what is exactly in a particular in a particular field of an array, by just simply naming them or naming those fields in different English words, or words that can be simpler for you to remember. So associative array, they are arrays that we use named keys, whereby index array, they are the one that we use integers as what? As keys. So that's all about associative array and integer array. So another thing that we're going to look at is the multi-dimension array. So multi-dimension array, they are arrays that we use to keep multiple dimensions. Okay, so for example, you see this is a student, and he has this data. All of this data, it belongs to him. Now what if you have multiple students? Okay, all students, they have the names different, they are different names, and then the age may be the address. So if you have such a scenario, then you may need to use what we call multi-dimension array. So multi-dimension array, it can help us to keep array with more than one index, or more than one key. Okay, as I've said that here, this is a student. All these three information, they belong to only one student: the name, the age, and the address. Now the scenario comes when there are now many students. What will you do? Will you also again create another variable? The solution is you can do what we call a multi-dimension array. So let us see how we can create a multi-dimension array.